Well, they finally came. They came in the mail today, and I cannot tell you just how ecstatic I am. I am still just trying to catch my breath. I've been watching Antiques Bandwagon for years and years, and when I found out they were coming to town, I mailed straight away from them tickets. Then they sent me a letter back saying that I was just going to have to sit tight on account of there were so many people that had sent off for them tickets. Then they were just going to pick as many people as they could at random, kind of like the lottery. Well, now, my daddy always said that playing the lottery was gambling, and gambling was a sin. But I just figured that maybe this one time it wouldn't hurt nobody. And besides that, they picked me to get them tickets. And on the very first time I ever did any kind of gambling ever in my life. Can you believe it? It just made me feel so good to go to the mailbox today. I don't know why everybody just don't play the lottery. Well, I have lived in Pickens County, Georgia for all my life. And I just love life and nature and helping people and animals. You see, after I got my honorary GED from the county public school system, I spent some time working for the state parks department, being what they call an animal relocator. And we would look for those troubled creatures, like raccoons and possums that get all stuck up in somebody's chimney. Or sometimes we found a timber rattler in a big old pile of timbers, and we had to go get it and take it way out into the woods or the swamps. Well, come to find out, I'm allergic to rattlesnake bites, and I did not know that beforehand. So I had to give up my career as an animal handler. Well, then I went back to school, crossed the river at Gilmer Community College, where in just 9 months I got a degree in hospitality. So what I did was go and get myself a job as a professional caregiver at the hospice up in Blue Ridge. And that is where I met Harold here 9 years ago. I don't know if y'all know this, but when they put you in the hospice, it's because the doctors at the regular hospital have done just about all they can to fix you, and they can't do no more. Well, Harold here, it was looking pretty grim for him, but he just kept on a-ticking. And you know what? It is the job of the caregiver to do the best they can to make their patient feel just as comfortable as they can for the rest of their days on this earth. Harold just kept ticking away, and 1 month turned into 2, and then it was another 6. Doctors just couldn't believe it. So they pulled every plug they could pull, but Harold just wouldn't give up the ghost. So while all the doctors were just standing around scratching their heads, I got to know Harold pretty good. Turns out he was once a business owner of a factory called the Jefferson Mint. Well, now what the Jefferson Mint did was, they would manufacture these fancy little knickknacks for people to collect. Well, Harold made lots and lots of money selling thousands of them to people all over the world. Well, wouldn't you just know it, Harold had himself one ungrateful daughter who had something what I overheard to be a powerful attorney. And after 2 more years of Harold ticking away in the hospice, I guess she just got tired of waiting for him to kick the bucket, and she left the country. Now, I don't know if it was with her attorney or what, but whoever she went with, they took what was left of Harold's money, and they left him with a box of his old knickknacks, and that was that. Well, Harold ticked on for another year in hospice, and it was pretty clear that he wasn't ready to call it quits, so I took him home with me. Oh, he's just such a sweet old thing, and I just knew that we had a special connection. Oh, as a matter of fact, I want to show you this. This was one of his personal possessions that he had with him that his daughter had left him with, and I always thought it looked like one of those things that his company sold, but I never saw another one like it. I want y'all to look at something. Ooh, look at that little fella in there. Who knew he was going to be hiding in that little thingy? Isn't that something? Oh, well, as you can see, I myself am a collector of owls. And people are always asking me, they say, Misty, how is it you've come to be a collector of owls? And I always tell them the same thing. I tell them, I think it's a hoot. Oh, when I found this little fella, I just knew that it was a sign that I was supposed to take care of Harold for as long as I had to. I guess you could say he's become a part of my collection. About the only thing you're collecting these days is dust, right, Sweet Pea?
Yeah, I guess my interest in antiques started when I was in college. it didn't take me long to figure out that seminary school, that dog wasn't going to hunt. There was no way that was going to work, so I had to get out of there really quick. But so I ended up getting a partial ride to San Fran State, and it comes to junior year, and it's time to pick a major, and so art history. Yeah, I know, right? But, I figured, I get to travel overseas and do museums and tours and, have this grandiose thing. But, it's expensive to go to Europe. It's, it's not all James Bond when you're that broke. And I was broke. So I end up in L.A. I BS my way into a gallery there as an art procurement consultant, which is fancy for personal shopper. And one day I'm helping this guy out, nice guy. You may have heard of him. His name is Henry Winkler, the Fonz. Helping him pick a piece for his dining room, and, nice commission there. And he loves me. He flips. We get along really well, me and the Fonz. And as a favor, as a sort of a reward for helping him out, he punts my name to these guys, the producers of the Bandwagon. And, it's a hobby. It's, keeps me busy. They fly me out twice a month to parts unknown. I get to see the country. They say I'm good looking enough for television, or I guess public television. And, while out here I get to sample a little bit of the local color. So, it's not a bad gig. Well, welcome to the Bandwagon. Tell us a little bit about this artifact you brought us today.
This is the double-barrel shotgun that my great-great-great-grandfather, John B. Plemons, used at the Battle of Kennesaw Mountain.
It's in beautiful condition.
We tried to keep it because for us it is an heirloom. It was of great importance to me and my family.
Of course.
One of Grant's minions, the Lieutenant William Tecumseh Sherman, on his aggressive march to Atlanta, thought he could take Kennesaw Mountain, but he was to be surprised. And gratefully, my grandpa Plemons was there with this gun, putting a halt to those troops and thwarting his attempt at taking Kennesaw Mountain, and therefore moving on into Atlanta, which eventually they did succeed at doing with a little bit of success.
The weapon itself, manufactured in the Springfield Armory, as you could see here, you could see the mark here by the foundry for the armory, and the date there. And generally a weapon like this will fetch at auction, probably about $2,500. Now, hold your horses there, because a weapon, we did some research on Plemons, and a weapon with attachment to a man of his stature in the war, because as you're aware, he was a hero to the South, but he was also, a little known fact is that he was court-martialed. And do you know of that court-martial, the crime for which he was court-martialed for? Well, let me fill in the blanks. Evidently, after the Battle of Kennesaw Mountain, he was found to be molesting pumpkins on a farm. And that's nothing special. Sexual proclivities aside, during the war were odd. But his offense was actually the last legal action by the Confederate Army documented that there's actual paperwork for.
I believe you've read the wrong book.
Oh, no, we got this from the Library of Congress. It's quite accurate. And there's actually some early lithographs showing him in his trial. We can actually probably try to dig those up.
This is my great-great-great-grandfather Plemons, who was a Confederate hero. He wasn't molesting vegetables.
I'm just trying to help you tell the story.
Where are you born?
Richfield, Connecticut.
Connecticut.
But he liked pumpkins.
As a cast member of the Antiques Bandwagon, it is my job to see that everyone receives a frank and honest appraisal of all their items. And I truly believe that I deliver that appraisal with the utmost and highest level of professionalism. I think the fact that I've been invited back to the show for the past 3 seasons speaks for itself. Some people might argue that medical conditions such as hypertension or acute anxiety spasms might cloud an appraiser's judgment, but I feel just the opposite. I use it to my advantage. I know that when someone comes up to my table and they bring me that something special that you just don't see very often, like that rare doubloon found on a shipwreck off the coast of Spain, or that blown glass vase that you just know is from the Lalique foundry, I start to get this little tingle in the bottom of my stomach, and then it slowly starts to climb on up, and then my heart starts to beat just a little bit faster, call it palpitations or what have you, but I just know it is my inner perceptivity telling me that I have something special here. I'm like an antiques barometer. When my blood pressure starts to go up, get ready for a high-ticket appraisal, my friend. And so then, if I'm able to regain my composure, I make my delivery. But most people don't get quite as excited as I do. It's kind of anticlimactic. But if you've ever seen the show, you're probably aware of that. My stars. This is a thing of beauty. Please tell me where you got it.
Well, for the longest time, I can remember seeing it in my great-grandmama's parlor. But then she died of consumption, and Meemaw got it and passed it on to me.
Well, I'm sorry about your great-grandma, but do you happen to know where she got it?
Oh, I'm not sure, but we always heard she did a lot of traveling in Europe and such. She went to France once. Maybe she got it there?
Well, that would make perfect sense, because this is quite indeed French, as it was made to commemorate a little thing called the 1878 World's Fair that was in Paris that year.
Oh, my gosh!
Absolutely. I can't believe this has survived in such excellent condition all these years. It's almost flawless. And the base is not tarnished at all, and the glass is some of the most beautiful I have ever seen.
Oh my gosh, do you think it's Tiffany?
This predates Tiffany by about 15 years. I think this was hand-blown by a man named Enrique Rosu. And as you can see, he was a master of his craft. I mean, look at the shape of the form and the simplicity and smoothness of the lines. I'm sorry, I'm just getting a little overwhelmed here. It's just...
Are you okay?
I'm fine. It's just so rare to see something of this rare condition in such excellent shape. If I had to place a value on this, and I'm speaking conservatively here, at auction, this could sell for no less than $25,000 to $35,000.
Well, I know that, sugar. I know that, but that is what the entry time says on the tickets. Well, honey, it's not like you're scheduled for brain surgery in the morning and you're flipping burgers, for Pete's sake. Oh. All right, I'm sorry. Okay, bye-bye. Well, that was my friend Doreen. She said she can't find anybody to cover her shift at the Arby's tomorrow. So, looks like I'm going to be flying solo for the day. Well, that's just fine with me. Sometimes I just like to get out there and get things done without any distractions, you know. Times like right now when I'm out hunting for a yard sale, I am up with the roosters and I'm out the door by the crack of dawn. Well, luckily for me, Harold likes to sleep in on Saturdays. Well, actually, I give him an extra half pail on Friday nights, and I just make sure to hook up an extra large bag to his catheter so he's good till about 11 a.m. Well, I'm always back by then because everybody knows that all the good stuff is gone by 10. Oh, there's one. Well, they have a lot of what you call professional pickers. Well, they are up early, just like me on a Saturday, and they go to these yard sales and they snatch up whatever they can just so they can turn it around and try to sell it at a second-hand shop or sell it online. make themselves a big old profit. Well, I just buy what I like, and I know it when I see it. You know what they say about one man's trash being another man's treasure? Well, I truly believe that. I've acquired some wonderful items that I will treasure for the rest of my life. Except I never found nothing good on a Sunday, because that's when one man's trash becomes another man's garbage.
These just fabulous. I have to know all about them.
Well, supposedly they were worn by Roy Rogers in the filming of Macintosh and TJ back in 1975. They were given to me by my aunt, who was a wardrobe stylist on the film.
You don't say.
Yep, she was actually the lead stylist. And the way she tells the story, Roy Rogers was so happy with the way he looked on film, he gave them to her as a thank you for doing the movie. They've been in the family ever since.
That is simply a wonderful story. Just incredible. Cowboy collectibles have always been hot. I mean, for generations before you or I ever picked up our first toy six-shooter, and for generations to come, I can never actually see cowboy collectibles going out of style. And as you well know, the name Roy Rogers is the epitome of the American cowboy, the king of cowboys, as he was known, as a matter of fact. It just doesn't get any better than this. An authentic screen-worn outfit, and you've brought the movie poster in as well, which has an artist's rendering of Roy wearing the chaps. And this was actually Roy Rogers' last appearance in a motion pictures. Words almost can't describe how incredible it is to have these here. They look great. The condition is incredible. This isn't something you would ever consider letting go of, is it?
No, Shirley, we don't plan on that.
Okay, then. If I were to place a value on these, let's say for insurance purposes, as it would almost be impossible to replace these, a conservative estimate would be somewhere in the range of $10,000 to $15,000. What would you say to that?
I'd say yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Wow, this is, impressive. Please tell me about this painting.
Well, me and the wife been going down to auctions at the VFW for as long as I can remember. You never can tell what's going to go past that auction block at the VFW. Well, we synced this painting, and coincidentally, we had just stayed in Las Vegas at the Bellagio. Man, they had that place done up like an Italian museum. It was nice. So we synced this, and it reminded me of something I'd seen before, like maybe there, and the wife loved it. She said that no price was too high, that no matter what, we were going to take that painting home that night, and we did.
And do you remember how much you did end up paying for it?
$250.
Okay, well, first of all, let me tell you this. It's a fake.
Damn it, Betty, I told you that wasn't no authentic, genuine Italian painting. Hell.
Right. As is well known, the original Mona Lisa was painted by Leonardo da Vinci in the early 13th century and is currently on display in the Louvre Museum in Paris, France. So, undoubtedly, this is a copy of that painting. Now, the good news is, it's a very nice copy. It's actually a painting on canvas and not some poster or print that you might find in some souvenir shop. And the artist actually paid really good attention to detail. And in the corner there, you can't make out the signature. It's not important. Most likely, this was done as an exercise by a highly advanced art student in the early 20th century.
Damn it, Betty, damn it. You know she had me pay $250 for this. This is coming out of your cigarette money.
Well, as I was saying, it's a nice painting with a nice frame, and I've consulted with a colleague of mine, and we think he did pretty good with this purchase. It's probably worth about $500.
Hey, welcome to the Antiques Bandwagon. How are you today?
I'm just fine, thank you. I've been watching your show for so many years, and I'm just so happy y'all decided to come here. It's just so exciting.
Well, we're very excited to have you. We told our screener that you don't know too much about this object.
No, I don't. I've never seen one quite like it before. I was hoping that you all would be able to tell me a little something about it.
Oh, I would love to. When you first think of decorative eggs, what comes to mind?
An Easter egg.
Exactly. Cultures have been decorating eggs for centuries for various reasons. Our story starts in Russia. The Tsar of Russia, about 100 years ago.
What now?
The Tsar, that's not. He's like a king. So he wanted to give his wife a special gift for Easter. So he commissioned a jeweler by the name of Carl Fabergé to create these gilded eggs. And the first one he created is here. And as you can see, he used a lot of beautiful gold and enamel. And when you open up the inside, there's a little chicken.
How fun.
So his wife was so pleased with the work that the Tsar commissioned Fabergé to create egg after egg after egg. And this went on until the Russian Revolution, and war broke out, and Fabergé and his family left the country. He moved his shop to France. His son Nicholas ended up making his way to the United States, where he worked for the Jefferson Mint. And as you know, the Jefferson Mint was responsible for making affordable collectibles for the masses. And he was one of their first artisans, and that's what brings us back to this little guy here. Now, if we turn this over and we look here, you see it has the FA mark, and that's for Fabergé. And underneath that, you see the word test. And I believe that this is a prototype, possibly one of the only made of this item for the Jefferson Mint. Now, have you taken a look inside to see who's in there? Yeah, a very, very, very interesting choice. Very interesting. Now, Fabergé continued to make items for the Jefferson Mint until his untimely death in a hiking accident in 1929, where he was bit by a rattlesnake and he got an allergic reaction and he passed away. Do you have any idea how much an item like this is worth?
That is amazing. No, I have no earthly idea. Do I want to know?
Oh, you definitely want to know. There are about 60 of these eggs remaining, most of which are owned by the Russian government, and the rest are owned by private collectors or museums. So it's very rare that these come up for auction. The last one that did in 2002 went for about $2.5 million. I mean, we never see anything like this here. This is a very rare find, and I believe it'll be a very long time before we see its equal here at the Bandwagon. Now, I've talked to some of our appraisers and my colleagues in the back. While this was not manufactured by Fabergé himself, we believe it's of his legacy and can be certified as a genuine Fabergé egg. If you were to bring this to auction today, I believe you can get up to $500,000 to possibly even $1 million for this egg.
You're kidding with me, aren't you? It is not nice to fool somebody like that.
No, I'm not kidding with you. This is a very, very rare object, and we need to work on getting it out of the cigar box and into someplace safe.
I just can't imagine.
Well, congratulations. You just set a new record here on the Bandwagon.
Well, these have just been the craziest few months of my life. I'm just glad I finally got to catch up with all y'all. See, after they filmed that episode I was on, they put that little old Easter egg into a briefcase made out of metal. And they just whisked me up and put me in this big old car, and they drove me out to this fancy hotel. Well, much nicer than any Best Western I'd ever stayed at. Them people at the Antiques Bandwagon were just so happy that I brought in that Easter egg to show them that they wanted to thank me by putting me up in that hotel for a few days until I decided just what I wanted to do with it. Well, the very next day, that nice man who told me how much he thought that egg was worth, he came to see me in my room, and he brought along a couple of other men to take a look. And they did. They looked all over that thing with these little round magnifying glasses. Well, it turns out that these men were Hasidic diamond merchants, and they offered to pay me a pretty penny for that egg. And when I say a pretty penny, I'm talking about enough money to keep old Harold here in fresh oxygen bottles for a long time. Ain't that right, Sweet Pea? Well, I don't have to tell you, but what those diamond merchants were going to do was to sell that egg, make them some money, just like them pickers at the yard sale I've been telling y'all about. But in secret, that nice man with the bow tie, well, he told me he thought that egg was too nice for people to be buying and selling all over again and fussing over the price and whatnot. He told me he thought it'd be nice if just about as many people as possible could enjoy looking at it too. And I could not agree more. The manager at this museum says that he has people coming in here just about every day asking to see that little bitty Easter egg. And even with all these great big pictures and mannequins and everything else there is here to look at, well, I'm just glad they let me put that egg here, because I don't know what I would do if I had to put up with all these people just strolling on through my house all day long. Never in a million years would I have imagined that I had something so valuable sitting around in a dusty old cigar box. Who knew? Maybe someday you'll be worth something, huh, Sweet Pea? Sweet Pea? Harold!